On to the part of VR Sports Powerboat Racing. This time it's the other modes. And by that I mean we're going to be going through 3 modes. I haven't done it because we've done Championship and Arcade. So now it's time for Shootout. And it's just elimination. It's just elimination. And you should know what elimination is. What elimination is essentially, you have your 5 laps, like this right here. And, you're 6th place, the lowest place that exists. And the way it works is that everyone doesn't want to be last. And if you get through an entire lap and you're last place, you're eliminated. And it keeps going. 5th place comes last place, so obviously you don't want to be 5th. Another lap goes, 4th place is last. You keep going until there's only 2 people left, and whoever's first in that last lap wins the entire race. So that is elimination, and it is a kind of a staple in every one of these sorts of games. Almost every racing game has this sort of mode, sort of arcadey games have this sort of mode. And it's a fine staple, it works. The main thing comes down to, this game changed it to Shootout. It doesn't need Shootout, it's basically elimination, it's fine. And I'm not going to give it a point for having elimination, but I will say there's a good amount of variety in this game to even have this, I mean, this is a fine mode to have. It's a basic sort of mode to have. And I believe this is also on multiplayer, which, by the way, we're not going to go through multiplayer in this, but there's head-to-head, which is, you and your friend versus each other, head-to-head in any kind of race. No other AI, I believe, are around, so it's just you and them. And there's also, Championship, I think, is on there. And, what was it? Time Trial. Time Trial is also on there. We'll go over to Time Trial here as well. And we're going to do one of each of these. And there's a reason I'm doing Time Trial only once alongside this one. But the third one, the Slalom, that one is going to be more than just one race. And there's a reason behind why I'm saying that, why I'm doing that. Because while these other 2 modes, they will just be kind of the same thing over and over again, Slalom, I don't know how to fucking say this damn word. Slalom. I think that's the word. That's how you say it. Slalom. It's such a weird word to say, though. It doesn't sound right. Slalom. But yeah, the Slalom thing, that's going to have its own thing for every race. So I'm going to show off all of that because it's unique enough to show off. But yeah, I'm just showing off, these 2 modes once because you don't really need to see, these modes again and again and again. You kind of get the gist of it all from the first go, and I've gone through these anyway off the recording, and I can tell you right now that everything that we can unlock in this game, we have unlocked. That's not a fucking joke. All of these are optional. There's no reason to ever do these other modes. The only modes that you should be doing is arcade to, get the cheats and to get mines. And then championship, you get that from doing arcade as well. And going through championship to unlock the catamaran boats. And that's it. Unless the computer froze for a bit, I'm sorry about that. But yeah, that's it. That's all we gotta do. The catamaran boats, while they do offer some new challenge, they do not give you anything for doing those. You don't have to use the catamaran boats at all, really. And yeah, it's just all of this shit you're seeing right now is kind of just bonus parts, honestly. It's just me showing off the rest of the game now, because there really isn't much else to show. There's nothing else to unlock. We've unlocked everything in the game. Anyway, as you can see, I'm on the 4th place, about to get into 5th place. Whoever's in 3rd is going to get eliminated, and I nearly got eliminated myself, but I got away from that with the 1st place. And now, it's just me in 2nd place. And as we know, when the AI is in 2nd and 3rd place, they are the most aggressive, they are the most rubber bandy, they are the most douchey to the players. So, obviously, this fucker is be rubber banding back and forth on my ass the entire time. He is not going to leave, and, you know, we're just going to have, at best, like, half a second apart from each other every time. The main thing, though, is that I just stay forward, I stay ahead as best as I can. I don't hit walls much, I don't get stuck, and, yeah, I'll eventually get first anyway. And that's really it. Like, there's not much else to elimination. There's not much of the shootout stuff. It's just this the entire time. And it does give us a different congratulations screen, but completing all the shootouts gets you nothing. So, yeah, it's just bonus fun, essentially. But here's what it says when you beat a shootout. You won the New York shootout. That's it. That's all you really get. And when you leave, you then get an option to race again or to just leave. Obviously, we're going to leave. There's no reason to race again unless you failed it and you want to do better. If you completed it, there's no point. Unless you want to redo it again because you found it fun. Which, you know. But yeah, now it's time trial, which this time trial stuff is interesting to say the least. It is not like a usual time trial where, you know, the developers give you a time to beat, and, you know, you beat all the times and you get something out of it. It doesn't work like that because there are no real set times in time trial for you to beat. Instead, the way it works is that you have this thing called a solo mode. And you get 2 laps of solo mode. And I had to look for all of them. Every single race, it's kind of the same time, which is 4 minutes.
3, 2,
now,
1,
obviously, you can beat all of these tracks in under 4 minutes. We know this. It's nothing new to us. We know that we can beat, even on the slowest difficulty, we know we can beat every single track in under 4 minutes. So, what this timer here, it isn't a time to beat. It is sort of a maximum time allowed for time trial. They don't want you to be too easy with it. They want you to actually try it, because what you're doing here is you're actually creating your own ghosts. There are no dev times, really. So there's no dev ghost. You instead have to be the one to create your own time to beat in solo mode, which then you then go into time trial again, because it puts you back into it, but with shadow. So now you have your own shadow, your own ghost to race against. And that's it. That is 100% what time trial is. And it is very obviously the developers just like, you know, it's Prometheus, whatever, it's just washing their hands on making dev times. They're just standing back and saying, no, you do it, man. You fucking make your own times. You're the one in control here. We're not putting the effort in. So yeah, there's no like challenge here, you know, unless you are really good at these and you do really good on the fucking solo mode thing. But when you realize that, you know, solo mode is you making your own ghosts, it becomes kind of obvious that either you can just, you know, half-ass it, you can fuck up and touch walls a bunch of shit and slow yourself down to make, with the ghost mode, with ghost section, very easy for you, or you can essentially just, you know, really challenge yourself, do an almost perfect run, and then try to do better than that in a semblance of trying to speedrun this game, I guess. There's no real purpose to doing this, but if you want to improve yourself on your own, this can be like a little training thing to get better. But you have practice, so why are you using this to train when you can use practice? But yeah, with Shadow is up next, and yes, our Shadow is right there. There's our boat. It'll be doing the exact same route and time that we've just done right now. So yeah, we're versing against our efforts in solo mode, which is weird. So yeah, I'm just versing against myself. That's what's happening here. This is a race against myself. And in case you're wondering, the ghost time here, you can phase through him. Like, it's not like any other CPU where they're malleable and shit. The Shadow here is a ghost. You can drive through the ghosts. So, you know, there's no issues of collision. You can just fucking, you know, not worry about that at all. He's out of the parry. He's sort of like an indicator that, you know, if you're being too slow, essentially. You know, you're being too far behind. But yeah, the main thing here is going to be the slalom, because this and Shootout are just fun modes, essentially. You know, Elimination, Time Trial, they are just here for fun. And Slalom is similar, but Slalom actually is interesting in the fact of it does add as a challenge. It's an optional challenge, much like challenge mode is going to be an optional challenge, and I'm going to be ending this part of challenge mode. Like, I'm ending the fucking Let's Play with challenge mode because it deserves its own video, because it's that long, and there is so much going on with it that it deserves its own part. But yeah, like, when it comes down to this shit, it's just fun. And Slalom, I'm only doing with these boats, you know, the regular sort of boats here we've been using beforehand. But I am going to show all the tracks of Slalom because Slalom really does change things up. These other two kind of feel the same still. They're not really that much different. The Championship and Arcade. Like, they do change things up pretty interestingly, at least. But yeah, it's still sort of the same shit. Slalom is not. Slalom is very interesting on how it changed itself. So, here are the results. You beat the Shadow by like a second. Again, it's just versing against their own time. Nothing too special about that. But the main thing here, the main interesting bit is going to be Slalom. So, what is Slalom? Well, have you ever played a snowboarding game? Have you ever played like a boat game really before? Outside of Hydro Thunder? The way Slalom works is you have like these little posts around. You know, you have these posts that you go around on. There's a left side post and a right side post. You have to stay on that side, because if you're on the other side, if you hit the middle of it even, that's a penalty. And what happens is usually in these sort of games, or these sort of modes really, if you get a penalty that's like 5 seconds on you, and there's a limit. If you miss 5 of them or so, then you're out, you're disqualified. That is how Slalom works, and it's always one lap. It's always one go. I'm going to be showing up a Narco first, and we'll go through the 2 tracks I've already done with these other 2 modes, and then we'll go through all the rest. But I want to show you what Slalom is from the easiest track, just to give you a taste on what we're in for. So, the bars we have to go around on, The white bars are your right side, and the green bars are your left side. When you know that, you're good to go. The game does indicate to you when to turn right and when to turn left, though. You know, it does tell you on the screen when you get close to it which side you should be on, which I do like. I do like that they do indicate you beforehand where you should be, in case the white and green thing are not obvious enough, which they aren't. They could have added like a flag thing or whatever to it, but whatever. But yeah, that's how it works. And I'm going to be doing all clean runs. I'm going to go through every single one of these correctly, because the game will kind of scold you if you didn't get a clear round, but it will congratulate you if you got a clear round. And there were 6 buoys. That's it, buoys. And I'm going to be going through and doing all the ones with this, because every single track has a different sort of thing with the buoys. Because when it comes down to every track, they're all different.
Ready?
And sometimes the buoys are easy to navigate on. Sometimes they're actually fairly difficult. And New York shows that. Like, Monaco shows how easy it can look. New York shows how hard it can look, because there's a lot of buoys to go through. Like, usually it's about 10 buoys to go through. Like, around there. Like, in the medium. Also, I'm going to show off the camera swings, which there's not much of a difference with the camera swing stuff. I think what it does is that if you hold it, it, like, swings it more, I guess. Like, swings it more faster. But I don't really notice it much. It looks the exact same. But, yeah, I mean, if you need it to swing faster, you know, it's there. Anyway, this is what I mean, because you'll be doing these jumps and you realize, oh shit, an indicator just appeared either before or during the jump. The game is going to put buoys behind jumps. This is why you need those indicators, because the game is going to be kind of douchey about that. And you gotta know what the fuck you're doing. Because remember, the camera is not going to let you know where the buoys are. It's gonna blindside you so fucking hard. So, yeah, New York gives you a taste on what to expect of that. I'm gonna do England, and after this, it's all the rest that we haven't gone through yet in this video. But, yeah, that's just sort of the gist of things. We saw the easiest, we saw one of the hardest, a sort of taste of what the hardest will have. And now we're going to one which, you know, it's my favorite level of the game. Now we gotta start off with this one afterwards, after showcasing what we're in for. And as you can see, right off the bat, they hide a buoy right behind a fucking ramp. So, again, you gotta know what you're in for. And sometimes they put buoys very close to walls. And we already know of our hatred of walls, and how much they really fuck us over on speed and such. The game is going to have moments where it puts a buoy right by a wall, and the direction is directing at the wall. And we have to just sort of, like, squeeze ourselves in. It's just, it gets awkward. And the game is going to make you juke around a whole lot, turning really widely and such, in order to actually get these buoys. Again, this is what a clean run looks like, and you want the clean run because the penalty every time for missing a buoy is 5 seconds. And it's better to actually hit the buoy than it is to go past it and take the 5 seconds. It is literally faster to waste like 3 seconds to direct yourself to the buoy than it is to, like, just take the fucking penalty every time. There is no advantage to taking the penalty. Alright, so that was England. That was 8 buoys. Next up, we have Norway. We're not going in order again. It's all going to be interesting. It's all going to be, you know, sort of silly in a way.
Ready?
But ultimately I want to show you how tracks that aren't that bad are more douchey on their own because the AI is not around. The AI adds difficulty, whereas the tracks themselves can be their own difficulty. So right now you can see from the buoys, Norway is being kind of douchey. You know, it's making you take the long way, and not only that, it's making you kind of get blindsided a little bit. You don't want to be blindsided, but the game is going to force you to be blindsided. And the thing is, Amazon is actually going to be fairly easy with this. That is not a joke. Because Amazon, when it comes to our normal races, is usually the really unforgiving one, the really hard one. But on its own, it's really easy. It's just the AI is being such an asshole to compensate for the easiness of the actual track. The actual hardest track in the game is, and I'm not even, shocked about this, it's Arizona. Here's Russia, by the way. Look, Arizona, with the AI's being douchey, and with the track itself, it's so turn-heavy, it's so tight. It's very corridor-ish. There's not many open spots to, race in. It's just really, really painful to deal Arizona. And it's painful in both racing against the AI and racing alone. And it's the only track that's like that. Every other track, it's either more difficult on its own or more difficult with the AI, like Amazon. But with Arizona, it is both. It doesn't choose. It is just a really, really difficult fucking track to get through. And yeah, look at this. It's been very close to all the edges and shit. Look at this one. You have to, be very precise when you turn to get that one. Russia is showing the douchey fucking turn. See? On its own, Russia's pretty tough to get these buoys. But I got them. And it's good thing I'm actually playing through this with, the first set of boats instead of the second one. I'm not using the catamaran boats because these buoys are such bullshit that I feel like they would be kind of really unfair with the catamaran. The monohull stuff is fine. The catamaran boats will probably be too much to handle with this game. Especially on Barracuda. I feel like Barracuda of catamaran makes doing these a massive fucking pain. But yeah, here is, Arizona. This fucking place still upsets me. And just racing through it right now. Again, it's very corridor heavy. I'm not a fan of it. It's very tightly, compact. All these turns and shit going on. Very bumpy in a way. The buoys start off not being that bad. And they stay that way, kind of. They do have their moments, though. But it's the track itself that really showcases its douchiness. And I gotta hand it to Arizona that the very fact it can keep being such an unfun track to be in when there's no AI to race against really showcases how much of a main prick this track is. So I will commend Arizona, this track, for continuously just being a douchebag. With or without AI, it's a fucking asshole. Luckily the buoys weren't that bad. Because there's not many jumps around, honestly. It's all very straightforward. So, Luckily, there's nothing to hide in, and they didn't even put the buoys close to walls, so we could get away with that. Now it's time for Amazon. And like I said, Amazon on its own is easy, and the buoys really showcase how easy it is.
Ready?
Because with the AI, the AI is absolutely fucking dickheads in this one. But the buoys are very forgiving. They kind of put most of the buoys in the middle, and you'll be able to anticipate every single one of these, even with jumps going on. You can see them in the distance even. You'll know when they're coming. So, you know when to anticipate these. And yeah, there's these branching paths here, but they don't put a buoy in a branching path. You don't have to even take the long path at all. There's no buoy there. So, yeah, it's very interesting on that. That one might be the only kind of douchey buoy. But, yeah, other than that, all the other ones, pretty fair and obvious on where they're going to be, where they are. And they're not trying to deceive you because of it. And again, it's just a showcase of how easy Amazon is on its own. You add the AI onto it, though, and it becomes a nightmare. But on its own, even with these buoys around, it's pretty easy. Which is a showcase of how fucking bullshit the AI can really be. Next up, after that, we will have, not Australia, but, yeah, Japan. Japan is douchey. Japan is actually pretty douchey with its buoys. I think Japan might be one of the hardest when it comes to the buoy stuff, when it comes to the slalom stuff, because it's the most deceptive. You'll see what I mean on this first jump here, in which the buoy is very far to the left. Look at that, I nearly went the wrong way. I nearly fucking fucked up a clear run. After that, you know, it starts off kinda, you know, being nice, because you have all of these wide areas to work with. But as we get to the more narrow areas, as we get more into Japan, the buoys start to be a bit more douchey with itself. Like, see, I'm anticipating it to hide in those jumps, because that's the place you could hide it in, but nah, it didn't do that. Instead, it's making me get very close to the wall there. You know, that's pretty mean. So, it's getting me close to walls. It's making me do some better tight sort of turns. Not really fun to go through. It's not being an asshole, but it's giving off those little hints of douchebaggery. But yeah, after all of that, then it's just, you know, fairly fine. Nothing to worry about. There's some really wide ones, but other than that, eh. And with that, we finished. And now it's just, Australia and then mines, and then we're done. And Australia, I think, is fine with the buoys. It's just the track itself is not very fun to go through. And mines, even though it's very corridor-ish, the buoys are fair, honestly. The buoys are pretty simple and easy to get through. They're very forgiving. So yeah, the rest of this is going to be fairly easy.
Ready?
And, yeah, that's the slalom. So, honestly, you can kind of tell that every single one of them have their own little thing going on here, and I like that, you know? And they're always the same, by the way, but they're always, like, there's some thought put into where the buoys are to add that little bit of extra challenge to this. And I appreciate that. And quite frankly, I find the slalom mode to be one of the better modes of this game. Sure, You just need to do it once and you're done. There's not much to like add to this. You know, you get your clear run, that's it. You get nothing for it either, so there's no point to doing the mode. But for what it gives, it's fairly decent. You know? It works. The other two modes are... like, time trial is weird on what it was doing. But you can just do that in Shootout, which is Elimination, like in one track only, and you've gotten the gist of it. There's nothing new with it at all of those two modes on the rest of the tracks. It's always the same. But when it comes to Slalom, it's always different. It's always different because the buoys are always in a different spot, and they're always going to do something more tricky in a way, or be more simple for you or whatever. They're always going to be a different sort of challenge for you on every track.
Ready? 3,
And I like that.
2,
I like that they add more to this when it comes to the slalom stuff over just, you know, sort of randomizing it or giving us some very meh sort of spots, you know, who gives a shit sort of things, very easy stuff. But then there's Challenge Mode, our last mode, which I'm doing in the next and final part of this Let's Play. And Challenge Mode might be the most interesting optional mode of all. Sure, Slalom is interesting in what it's been doing. But Challenge is more interesting in that it is what Time Trial should have been. And it's not the hardest. Just saying it right now, it's not the hardest fucking, like, mode in the game. Championship and arcade win. But Challenge does offer some stuff to make itself a third place overall when it comes to challenge in this game. But yeah, that is all the buoys, that is all of Slalom, and that is this part. I'm not doing multiplayer because I don't have a second controller really, and all I can really show you of that one is head-to-head, and that is just, you know, you and the second player, and that's it. Just nothing else to that. So, yeah, next time we're doing Challenge. And what is Challenge going to be? You're going to have to find out. Because the way Challenge works is that there is a difficulty. It's always in Barracuda, I believe. And the way it works, if you choose out of your boat, you can choose, you know, the catamaran boat, or you can choose the monohull boat. And you can save it on your memory card too. And the way it works is every track has a set boat already chosen for the AI. There's only one AI. And for this one here, monohull, essentially with New York, it is the first boat. There'll be moments where they choose the last boat, so you have to go one below. You know, we don't get the fastest boat. But yeah, the first one will be with Francis here of that laser buoy. And we'll be versing against all of them, all the challenges in both kinds of boats, next time in the final part of VR Sports Powerboat Racing. So, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time for Challenge Mode.